Here we have it, Taco. Game number 4. We're in the tail end of the competition here today, and this has happened so fast. Game after game, start to end, start to finish has been extremely exciting, and I think it all has to do because of how much action we have just unfolding to really hold us through the early game here, right? We've seen Edgy and Death try their best up against Mongrel and Mr. Savage. It's been the talk, I would say, of the start of these rounds. What do you think? Who do you think is coming out on top?
At this point, Death and Edgy have to go massive here at the Cliffside Lodge if they want to turn things into their favor, because they just haven't had the opportunity to even play a lobby out so far today, considering that it's been Mongrel and Mr. Savage coming out strong from that drop, and they're not the only ones dealing with some early contention. Gord and Blizzard, one more time, running it back up against the likes of Eomzo and Tayson. You're talking about a team with a 75% win rate off of their drop when gone. So this is still a very bold strategy from Gord and Blizzard to try and challenge Eomzo and Tayson, and it is meeting a similar fate to how it's looked all day today. 2 eliminations cleanly now onto Tayson, but a really nice start to their surge strategy if you think about it.
Well, you know what? Don't worry, we have you covered with what's happening on the other side. Once again, Mongrel finds his way to clutch up and get the eliminations to keep this tournament run alive for them right now. Keep the win possibility alive for Mongrel and Mr. Savage. Just, you know, you gotta respect it.
Hurts just a little bit, man. Death gets that initial knock onto Mr. Savage, but just not enough left in the tank. And I mean, again, this is kind of just looking like a Mongrel and Mr. Savage that are teed up. And the practice that they've been putting in, the numerous hours of catching just about every single scrim, playing through every available Fortnite session just about in terms of competitive opportunity to practice, they have been on point, and I think that they are definitely kind of reaping the benefits of that practice. It's clear when you're going 4-0 off spawn.
Yeah, and I want to say something. I'm sure everyone's, you know, thinking this as well. We got to remember, Mongrel was honestly the rustiest of the duo, right? Let's just be honest. He was out of form, out of practice for so long, but he makes his comeback, and to see him being the anchor, right, of the duo right now is exciting. It's good that he gets his opportunity to shine here and to show that he's a very vital part of that team's success, and he might be the reason they go to grand finals. We'll have to see. This is getting very, very exciting. It's game 4, though, if you are just tuning in. We're looking for the victory royales right now. A win sends you straight to grand finals. Performing well will send you to tomorrow's set of games. We'll have another long, long run in front of us, so and this is it. Couple chances left now.
And to be fair as well, for Death and Edgy and their current circumstance, right, because you've been wiped off spawn 4 times now, the last lobby, I mean, all it really takes in a 5-game format is one huge pop-off game, so it's not over just yet, but I could definitely see it being a little bit mentally impactful, but at the same time, it is a really volatile drop position because you are just so 50-50 with where you're able to get that floor loot, for example, and it just doesn't seem like it's been able to pan out in their favor so far. But yeah, I mean, they're not the only team that's met their fair share of struggles throughout the course of today. I think that Parson Baka as well have definitely encountered a fair amount of difficulties in some of their late game moments. I mean, just think about what happened in the last lobby when they were trying to make a play onto Clicks as a solo.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so, you know, it has to feel good if you've been playing pretty decently all throughout the tournament so far, because you know tomorrow is secured for you. However, you know, getting the win, going straight to grand finals is what matters. So you can start playing for that big money, play for that global spot. But hold up, let's jump in right now. We have Stiff and Carillion. Saw what they were able to do last game, being the team that quite literally hunted down Mongrel and Mr. Savage. Mongrel who made that fatal error, opening up an edit against them. And then from there, it was just downhill, but Shots are trading back and forth so far. Oh, I love that little angle. He didn't find it, but that would have been filthy if he would have caught Nerface right there. It was close, but look at this. Danger starting to approach and approaching pretty quickly. They recognize that. They put up the defense. It's Vorteca and Paco who are pushing in right now, so the disengage absolutely warranted here. Good call from them to start backing off, but it's going to come down to Paco and Vorteca on who they want to push.
Yeah, no, Vorteca and Paco want this fight. They are setting up to hold both of these duos now. They could even essentially just continue to hold this slightly elevated position and force Nerface and Sid, Stifferoony and Carillion to go back to duking it out with each other and then just pick up the scraps after the fact, because they've got the luxury already of having looted out Redline Rig. They've already got the Machinist Medallion. They've got that Mythic Combat Assault Rifle. This is really just all down to how much time they wish to invest in. But the way that Vorteca is just continuing to kind of trail, following Carillion and Stifferoony's movements, right now, the biggest opposition he's dealing with is maybe some other teams off in the distance. Catching no, and yeah, Vorteca punished pretty heavily, but thanks to that Machinist Medallion, you just drop it, pick it right back up, instant 5 ticks back to your shield, and all the way back up to 75, so it's not going to cost him anything as far as his shield resources are concerned.
Yeah, they're one of the few in a very unique, circumstance, if you will, to do what they're doing right now. Play this aggressive, be this, obviously, somewhat reckless with their peaks there, but nonetheless, we jump into another fight going on here. Thoric and Chris in the low ground having quite the difficult time putting up a good performance. We're going against Owl here and Haju. Team has been playing a little bit better than them thus far into the tournament. But it seems like Haju and Owl that can just have that one good game, punch their way into the Sunday seat. There's no time to waste here.
They are kind of just teeter-tottering, though, on the line as far as staying in that top 25 of today's leaderboard is concerned. So they're trying to be smart about these early game pushes, and a team like Thoric and Chris, one more duo that's looking at needing a massive performance in these last couple of lobbies if they want to try and elevate their standing to be in a position where they can maintain upper bracket for day 3. But this is a pretty rough situation that they currently find themselves in, and the longer that it takes for either of these teams to find an elimination on the other, if at all, the more time it's going to give for some other teams to take note and get interested in a potential third party.
You can see those crosshairs looking in this direction, not too sure what's happening over here, but how Owl and Haju are going to get the move on. Meanwhile, Pink and Miro, a bit of a standoff. They do have the lead so far. Pink a little bit hurt. Miro gets tagged here while this is all happening, but Pink wins his ones. They get the full finish as well. Still has his 3 dashes. Nothing to worry about here. So securing their second elimination. This is the third party that they're looking for to come in and actually come out on top like that is definitely a huge win for them right now. I'd like to see more Pink and Miro in the end game towards the high ground. They've continued to be there, but they're falling just short of the win opportunity.
Get a chance to catch up with what's been taking place around this weapons bunker here for Z-Link, and just holding an angle. Paper already shredded by Antonio, and that's going to be an easy one for Z-Link to essentially take over. And a nice elimination, just going to net them a little bit more surge, and more importantly, freebie access towards that weapons bunker, considering that Victor's gonna have to back off. Blaha! Head ripped off in that circumstance. The peak just a little bit too aggressive there, and the punish could not have been played better. Yeah, I don't blame them. You get a knock like that, Curve and Tyler, they know that's the go sign.
I don't see this too often like this, though. Again, we're in the desert, right? Like, things get a little crazy out here.
Wow.
Oh, Mixon though bodies Tyler and has a chance to actually save his teammate. Oh my gosh.
Man, Tyler might be kicking himself for that one, though. No, he's got to be feeling a little bit silly right now, and both of them actually gonna get chopped. Mixon interrupted, doesn't get the revive off successfully. Blaha will get eliminated as well to what I believe ended up being fall damage potentially, or no, it's actually probably shots from afar, but again, Seek and Dash now potentially chasing out the other half of Mixon there, but Tyler at least has been revived, so Kerr probably pretty happy with that one. And Tyler especially, again, like he had the height overtake for a moment there from that surge base, but just did not anticipate that answer back from Mixon.
I am so that I'm like so let down and upset that just happened. Seek and Dash just ruined it for me. I wanted to see the pickup. I wanted to see Mixon just come back and show the world what he's made of. That was brutal. But you know what? Mixon caught his highlight. I'll take it. I'm 50% satisfied.
Sometimes it's about sending a message.
He was sending a message to Tyler and Kerr, that's for sure.
Tough one here, though. Teams caught in the storm, and Kyle just nowhere left to run. He's got Trashy and Threats, but Trashy and Threats, they have been relatively quiet throughout the course of today. We've seen them encounter a lot of difficulties with that early spawn drop contention by Pleasant Piazza. So for them to still be kicking at this point, I think that it at least gives them the opportunity to make up for some very much needed lost time.
Yeah, they'll have to do just that. Meanwhile, big surge base here. Once again, outside one of the flaming hoops. So Savage looking for any sign of a player nearby. Little does he know he missed his chance. Wants to Seek in company. Yeah, he's trying to bait out. Trying to bait out somebody, like, trade shots, peek me. I need to start getting some damage going here. Meanwhile, Impen and Pump from the storm here coming in deep.
But if they're playing this far back from the rest of the lobby, MDF, we don't see them with eliminations. So that damage threshold could be very questionable for as to whether or not Impen and Pump have actually been able to accrue enough to stay above that threatening position of falling under the surge threshold. Something that has definitely plagued them a little bit here today, amongst some other factors, but Rift Island is popping right now, and Cooper and Kanata are a part of the mix. They want the capture point. You can see it already starting to build in their favor, but they are not the only ones, and keep in mind, Acor and Cold, they're a team, we've seen them 2 times over head towards Rift Island, and if they get the capture point successfully now for Cooper and Kanata, maybe they might even choose to operate with that Mythic hand cannon.
Yeah, definitely have the chance. Hand cannon is just so good in the right hands. This is not a simple gathering. This is somewhat of a parade going down right here. You have a lot of teams outside of this Rift Island as well, considering moving closer and closer as Cooper and Kanata fight for the resources here. There it is. They get rewarded instantly. Big upgrades available here.
Cooper kind of, you know, take your pick of the Flowberry Fizz at that point. But down below the island, got Oceana, Worthy, and Alex sitting pretty. Well, not the only team either. A lot of duos tend to kind of gather around the bottom of the island because they want to utilize those rifts for a slightly easier rotation later on, especially given the fact that there's usually going to be opportunities as well to kind of take shots at some of those later stragglers entering the zone.
I like what we're seeing from Alex and Worthy. The first couple of games, it was a little bit disappointing. They were falling early. The last two, however, this one and the one before this, they finally figured out what was going wrong in the early and mid games, and now they're doing well. Starting to show themselves, show their stride. Here for Glow. Scuffy, what was going on here? Into the box and a quick finish for the duo.
A lot of traction kind of starting to pick up, though, towards Mount Olympus. Source and Poffy, they're trying to get ahead of everyone else. They know with the amount of shifting elevation that tends to take place with zones that pull this direction, it is really important to try and... You don't necessarily want to go too high too soon, because then you have to worry about the potential of having to actually go back down the mountain faces, but I think where they're currently situated, I mean, you're slightly above. You can still get a good overview of teams that are starting to enter the zone, and you're not necessarily risking having to travel as far as you may have been if you were lower down the mountain face.
On the other side, Cold and Acorn, no strangers to staying inside the storm for what feels like an indefinite amount of time. They'll stick around, they'll fight here. Coming up just shy of the Victory Royale last game. Had to feel like a huge blow to them, but how well they've been playing, I'm sure we expect nothing but the best from them, especially leading into tomorrow if they don't secure the win here. Easily the most consistent team on the day, but oof, little laser beam coming through into the bush here.
Wonder who sent those shots Cold's way. I mean, you see Miro and Pink not too far, but Broken 20, they've got a knock onto Victor. Currently trying to see if they can get the other half on paper, but at least for right now, they're gonna have to put that thought to the side, because Clix and Veno have moved into their current position and they've taken over their box. Clix, Veno with a successful knock onto 20. That's gonna be the full elimination instead. And even with only one elimination, they're practically 500 damage above the threshold. And that refresh could not have come at a more optimal time.
Yeah, that kind of decision right there only happens when you are worried and concerned about your surge becoming the issue. Look, it just updated. They're once again just 200 above, you know. Had they not found that elimination, they'd either be right below or barely holding on. So making the right decisions here, finding the quick eliminations, extremely important. We get to watch how this all played out. So seeing what was happening in front of them, look, they were 126 above before it happened. They absolutely had to take this fight here. Very critical exchange.
But again, some of these teams starting to get a little bit stuck at the bottom of some of the early hills as we're approaching Brawler's Battleground. Towards that northwest side of the zone is just a ton of congestion taking place, and Eomzo and Tayson, though, separated from the bulk of it. In fact, they've got their pick of the litter just below them. They're in a really nice spot to try and hold.
Terrell Tavern gets to look down onto Clix and Veno, but a whole different team just deletes him, and the surge finishes the rest here. TK left by himself now. Gets his teammates loot. I mean, guess he could probably wait this one out now with the extra heals, but I'm not too sure if he's going to be able to survive it. We'll see here shortly. Clix and Veno will be picking up these audio cues here, depending if that shield does crack from the storm surge. But overall, tough spot to be in if you got to make this rotate now. Is it's not only pushing up and over this hill, it's going all the way around the outskirts and kind of through the place where the team's at. But there it is, Crash Pad just being the perfect solution for the task at hand.
But they're still in a little bit of a tight spot here.
What is
TK
this?
as a solo came up right behind them. I think TK even caught that crash pad that Clix and Veno had just used. Z-Link, you see him flying by. Clicks and Veno's box, but yeah, a little bit more siphon material, siphon mats essentially from that elimination onto TK and some extra points. But again, it's really the Victory Royale that a team like Clicks and Veno is looking for. Same circumstance here for Cold and Acorn, kind of breaking their way through some builds. Some trouble now for Epic Whale and Muzz, but no, instead Acorn, he lost his shield entirely. That's going to be the immediate disengage.
And they're below the Storm Surge right now. Their other option, fight Pink and Miro. Like, this is no easy duos to go against, but when Pink isn't looking and Miro's concentrating on a different duo, maybe, just maybe, the stars can align for you. And Cold finds the elimination alongside Acorn there that they so desperately needed. And the material as well here will be theirs to secure. But who is this now? Pushing on in. They gave up, they backed off. It was Nerface, Crazy, or Craze also by himself now. What a crazy turn of events right there. And look at this, the Storm now pulling far south. This is actually really good for the lobby here. It's gonna pull off of the mountain for a second, giving everyone with position a chance to kind of reset here. So if you're Paco and Tekka, I mean, you're feeling a little upset about this. You don't necessarily want to move too far off of your high ground spot, but hey, look, they got to come through them, right?
Wow, but no one's wasting any time at this point. It's almost like, hey, you got to try to get the shots off where you can. A few of them have landed successfully now for Vorteca, but they're already well above surge threshold, 554, but they're just trying to build it up even more still. Acorn and Cole, though, gonna apply a decent amount of pressure. Small chop, but Vorteca, Paco, still able to maintain the high ground position for the time being. They even get an elimination onto a Minish from afar. But Vorteca, he's not gonna have an opportunity just yet to go for the body, to go for that loot. Instead, gonna sit, wait, and now they're gonna be one of the last teams to actually move towards this next zone.
I love that we're following Cold and Acorn right now because they have been dominant on the low ground, and they've been almost intentionally going back to the grassroots of playing the front side, the same way Clicks and Vino have been doing. However, this is like playing off a mountain territory, right? So notice they did not go all the way down. That's a huge risk, where Clicks and Vino were willing to take that risk, and they're down there. And this zone is going to bounce to the east here. Vorteca and Paco are positioned so high up in the air. I'm not even sure if they want to come down, but they kind of have to. They're low on material here.
They got Nitro Splashes, though, and Flowberry Fizz, so they should be A-okay. Same can't be said, though, for Rafiki and Edward under so much pressure right now. Cold, Acorn, they are just drooling at the thought of getting another couple of eliminations, and sure enough, clean as could be, lock them in their box, and Cold, Acorn, with yet another refresh, another 2 eliminations, and yeah, just maintaining that control of these mid to low ground layers, but they will expand the Flowberry Fizz in a crash pad just to keep trying to play towards that front side of the zone. Tayson and Eomzo, meanwhile, from behind, but they are on the ultimate low. They are taking shots up, chopping out the floors of players above. Looks like Cooper was just a victim himself to Eomzo even. So the elimination taking place a decent time, but they are running a little bit thin on their resources.
And this really puts it into perspective just how hard it is to win these games. Like, the task right now is, how do you get past Vino, Clicks, Tayson, Eomzo, Acorn, Cold, Kanata, Cooper? Like, these guys are all making it to the end game. Pars, Baka, they're all here. All of the big NA names are here. Miro still alive. It doesn't matter how good your situation is. Anything can happen. And look at this, talking about how things can change. Clicks and Vino go for the high ground for the 3rd time this weekend already, trying to desperately pull that Victory Royale. But the names that we just rallied off are here for a reason. They will not allow you to do it. Not for free, that is. And Acorn and Cold doing just that, targeting that high ground weak point, bringing down Clicks and Vino, forcing them to waste their mats, and then up goes another, and Vino gets punished for it, and Acorn and Cold fight back for the high ground. This is what I'm talking about.
You could see the crash pad that Veno was holding on to, but it just works against him. Could have been Tyler, could have been Acorn or Cold at that point. So many players just clearly fixated with the intention of trying to overtake the high ground, but now it's all down to Mongrel and Savage.
I was looking just at them. They're still alive, but they don't even have mats. What kind of play is this? It's just pure desperation kicking in right now.
It's just absolute mayhem right now, but Tyler and Curve, another team with absolutely no resources. Mongrel's gonna get knocked in the process. Savage doesn't have any mats. He's barely even got time to reload. By the time he finishes, Paco already pressuring him from behind, and that's gonna be another clean elimination. But again, nobody gets to really relish in these limbs that they're actually capturing, because it's just somebody else on the other side of a wall that's immediately knocking them back in return.
Well, I'll tell you who does get to. It's Tayson and Eomzo, who had nothing to do with that. They were just like, all right, I'm just going to play my layer, wait for this endgame, and meanwhile, everyone else cannibalizes their positions in the game. But Acorn and Cold are still alive. Zypha and Shore are still up too, but Shore's HP is so low. I'm not even too sure if Eomzo and Tayson have enough to stretch this one out, as the elims are still racking up for Acorn and Cold here. They definitely have a slight material advantage, even over our high ground teams, but how long will that last with the shots coming in from up above? They're forced to come down. Acorn gets straightened out. Shore falls, and this is it. Tayson and Eomzo served up the victory on the plate. Patience, key for them, and they're going to the grand finals.
We saw them playing so much further back. They chose to hang around that backside of the zone really early on, and it paid off in massive dividends for them, MDF, because they didn't get caught in all of that congestion, all of that chaos as well. Teams exchanging eliminations, and again, you just have to respect the shot calling that Tayson and Eomzo actually opted for here, because I think a lot of teams would have felt pressure to try and make a play for high ground much sooner than what these two opted for.
Just watching everyone, like the fights, right, was entertaining on its own, but in the end, that timing, and look, Tayson just slips right on through before they even realize who's going to land on them. Game 4 goes to Tayson and Eomzo in spectacular fashion. Falcons, Tayson, Elite Eomzo, congratulations. You're going to grand finals, and it's even more impressive when you are a player from, you know, another region coming on over to NA, pairing up when they haven't done before. So exciting stuff ahead of us, and even more exciting Fortnite here in just a moment.